they ruled the galaxy without fear. For thousands of years the alien predators spread across the stars, crushing every world they found. No race could resist them. Their ships were larger, their weapons sharper, their armies endless. Wherever their fleets arrived, silence followed. Planets burned, cities turned to ash, and survivors were chained in iron. The predators called themselves rulers by right, and no one dared to argue. To them, the galaxy was a hunting ground and every other species was prey. They hunted not for survival, but for sport, for pride, and for the thrill of domination. The galaxy trembled when their banners appeared in the sky. Entire civilizations surrendered without a fight, begging only for mercy that never came. For the predators, mercy was weakness, and weakness was something they crushed without hesitation. They believed themselves invincible, eternal, and unchallenged. They thought fear was their greatest weapon, and indeed, fear alone had won them countless battles. One whisper of their name could cause entire planets to surrender. It was not armies they fought, but broken wills, and in this they were masters. Their empire grew larger with every passing century, stretching farther than the eye could see. The predators had no rivals. They had forgotten the meaning of defeat. And yet, in all their arrogance, they overlooked one small, fragile world spinning quietly in a forgotten corner of space. A world they did not fear. A world they thought would fall as easily as the rest. The world was called Earth. When news of Earth first reached the predators, they laughed. Scouts had studied it from afar. The humans were young, divided, and primitive compared to the vast powers of the galaxy. Their armies were tiny, their weapons simple, and their people still quarreled among themselves. To the predators, Earth was nothing more than a fresh hunt, a new trophy to hang on their wall of victories. Their leaders declared that this human race would not survive even the first strike. Many among the predators even mocked the idea of wasting a proper fleet on such weak prey. They thought a single hunting party would be enough. They did not know the truth. They did not know the history of Earth. They did not know of wars that had scarred continents, of weapons that could turn cities into fire, of battles fought not for conquest but for survival itself. They did not know of the stubborn will that burned inside the human heart, the will that refused to kneel even when the sky itself collapsed. To the predators, Earth was just another conquest. But Earth would be different. The predators came with arrogance, their ships shining like blades in the dark. They believed victory was already theirs. They saw humans as fragile, soft, and hopelessly outmatched. But when they looked closer, they noticed something strange. The humans did not cower as other species had done. The humans did not bow or beg. Instead, their eyes burned with defiance. Even when their weapons seemed small, their spirits seemed unbroken. This unsettled the predators, though they would not admit it. They had crushed thousands of races, but this one seemed different. This one looked back at them with something more dangerous than weapons, something the predators did not understand. As the first fleet prepared to descend on Earth, the galaxy held its breath. The predators expected another easy hunt, another victory to boast of. But destiny had prepared something else. For the first time in countless ages, the predators were about to meet resistance. And in that resistance, they would discover a truth they had long forgotten. Prey can bite back. For now, the predators still believed themselves supreme. They laughed in their grand halls, certain that nothing could ever stand against them. Their commanders sharpened their claws, their fleets roared across the void, and their eyes turned toward the blue planet waiting in silence. They could not imagine the storm that was coming. They could not imagine the nightmare they were about to awaken. For soon, humanity would rise, and the rulers of the galaxy would learn fear for the very first time. The first fleet of predators moved toward Earth like shadows across the stars. Their ships were massive, black against the endless night, glowing with weapons that had destroyed countless worlds before. To the predators, this was routine. Another planet, another conquest, another victory. They expected no challenge. Inside their command chambers, the predator leaders laughed. They mocked humanity, calling them weak prey. They spoke of humans as children with toys, unaware that a storm was coming. The fleet's commander, a cruel warrior with scars carved into his face, told his soldiers that this hunt would be quick and amusing. But even as they prepared, he could not shake a strange unease. Reports from scouts mentioned something odd, humans who fought back even when defeat was certain. It was only a whisper, but in the cold silence of space, whispers have power. On Earth, people looked to the skies with fear and confusion. At first, the strange lights above were thought to be meteors or satellites. But then transmissions were intercepted, strange signals that no human language could explain. Governments argued, scientists debated, but soldiers prepared. Humanity did not know exactly what was coming, only that it was dangerous. In secret bases, military leaders whispered of an invasion. Humanity had faced war before, but this was different. This was something beyond the Earth itself, something out of nightmares. And yet, instead of surrendering, humanity prepared to resist. When the first predator ships entered Earth's orbit, they expected panic. They expected humans to drop their weapons and run. Instead, alarms blared across nations. Missiles were armed, jets were scrambled, and soldiers took their positions. Humanity did not bow. Humanity stood ready. The predators were amused at first. Their technology was far beyond anything humans possessed. Their armor could resist human weapons. Their shields could block missiles. They thought it would be over in minutes. But then the first shots were fired. Human jets streaked across the sky, missiles locked onto the alien ships. Explosions lit the night. The predators swatted many away, laughing at the futility. Yet, one missile found its mark, and a predator craft burst into flames before crashing into the ocean. The laughter faded. For the first time in centuries, the predators lost a ship to prey. Shock rippled through their ranks. It should have been impossible. Their commander roared in anger, declaring it a mistake, an accident, nothing more. But deep inside, unease grew. On the ground, humans watched the battle in awe and terror. They saw that their weapons, though weaker, could still wound the giants above. And in that moment, a spark lit inside them. If one ship could fall, more could fall. If predators could bleed, they could die. The fight became fiercer. Human pilots flew with reckless courage, diving straight into enemy fire. Some never returned, but others struck their targets. In hidden bunkers, soldiers armed themselves and civilians prepared to resist with whatever they had: guns, explosives, even bare hands if needed. The predators, who expected an easy hunt, found themselves in a war. They crushed many human defenses, their weapons tearing through tanks and jets with ease. Cities trembled, and the ground shook beneath their attacks. But no matter how hard they struck, the humans refused to break. Every street became a battlefield, every mountain a fortress. Humanity fought with a madness the predators had never seen before. The commander of the fleet grew restless. This was supposed to be over. Instead, his ships were being harassed by tiny, defiant enemies who would not yield. He ordered a retreat from orbit to regroup, but retreat was a word the predators hated. The soldiers whispered among themselves. Was this truly prey? Or was this something else? On Earth, the retreat of the alien ships was seen not as mercy, but as victory. For the first time in history, humanity had stood against an enemy from the stars and survived. They had not won, not yet, but they had not lost either. And that alone was enough to light a fire across the world. Leaders who once argued now stood together. Nations that once fought now shared secrets and weapons. Humanity began to unite. And as they prepared for the next attack, one truth became clear: Earth was no easy prey. In the darkness of space, the predators watched with cold eyes. They had underestimated this species. They had thought humans were weak, fragile, and divided. But now they saw a glimpse of something far more dangerous. Something that made even predators feel a trace of fear. The commander swore vengeance. He promised to bring a larger fleet, to crush Earth completely, to erase humanity from existence. But deep in his heart, he could not forget the sight of one of his ships burning in the human sky. It haunted him, for it was the first crack in the Empire's pride. And cracks, once made, only grow wider. The galaxy did not yet know it, but a storm had begun. The rulers of the stars had taken their first step into a war they did not understand. And humanity, the fragile prey they mocked, had taken their first step into becoming a nightmare. The predators returned to Earth with fury. Their commander could not allow the humiliation of losing even a single ship to what he still called weak prey. He brought more vessels this time, larger and stronger, their weapons shining with deadly power. To the predators, this was no longer a simple hunt. This was about pride. And pride made them blind. On Earth, the people prepared. The world had changed in days. No longer did nations look at each other as enemies. For the first time, humanity stood as one. Scientists shared knowledge, soldiers shared tactics, and leaders shared resources. The threat from the stars had forced unity upon them. Humanity knew they were still weaker, but they also knew something the predators did not. They knew how to adapt, how to learn, and how to fight with desperation. And they were ready. When the Second Fleet entered orbit, it was met not with fear, but with fire. Hidden missile bases launched waves of rockets. Fighter jets swarmed into the sky. Naval ships fired from the seas. Every human weapon, no matter how old or small, was aimed at the invaders. The predators unleashed their fury, burning through defenses with beams of energy that could shatter steel. Cities were struck, flames rose, and many lives were lost. But this time, humanity had a plan. A trap had been set. The predators' pride led them straight into it. Over the Pacific Ocean, a massive alien warship hovered, preparing to fire on targets below. Unknown to them, human submarines lurked in the dark waters beneath. They had been silent, waiting for the right moment. Then, with precise timing, a coordinated strike was launched. Torpedoes tore through the water and slammed into the warship's underbelly. Explosions ripped across its surface. The alien shields tried to hold but cracked under the relentless assault. Flames burst from the ship as smoke filled the sky. The mighty warship began to fall, crashing into the ocean with a roar that shook the earth. For the first time in history, humanity had destroyed a capital ship of the predators. The world watched in shock and awe. The impossible had been done. The predators, too, were stunned. In their long rule of the galaxy, no prey had ever done this. No weak race had ever brought down one of their greatest vessels. Rage spread through the alien fleet, but so did doubt. The commander roared, demanding his soldiers fight harder, but the seed of fear had already been planted. On Earth, that victory was like fire in the blood. Humanity cheered, even as battles raged on. The death of so many was not forgotten, but the fall of the alien warship gave hope. If one ship could fall, others could too. If humanity could win once, they could win again. Across the world, resistance grew stronger. In the skies above Europe, predator fighters faced human jets in a deadly dance. Though many humans fell, a squadron managed to outmaneuver the alien crafts, striking one down in flames. In the deserts, human ground forces ambushed alien troops, using the terrain to their advantage. In the forests, guerrilla fighters attacked and vanished, leaving the invaders frustrated and bleeding. Everywhere, humans fought with cunning and rage. The predators had weapons stronger than any human technology, but humans had something else: imagination, strategy, and the refusal to surrender. For the first time, the predators began to realize that humanity was not like the others they had crushed. This prey fought back in ways they did not expect. This prey learned quickly, too quickly. The commander, furious and humiliated, ordered the retreat of the Second Fleet. He promised it was only temporary, that they would return with overwhelming force. But inside, he felt a shadow he had not known in centuries: fear. He had seen human eyes, burning with determination. He had seen their courage, their unity, their refusal to bow. He wondered if they were truly prey, or if something else had awakened. On Earth, the retreat was celebrated as the first true victory. Humanity had not only survived but had forced the predators to flee. It was not the end of the war, But it was the beginning of something greater. The galaxy was silent, watching. News of the battle spread, whispered from one star system to another. Races once crushed by the predators listened closely. They had never heard of such a thing, never imagined the rulers of the galaxy could be forced to retreat. And in that silence, hope began to stir beyond Earth. The predators, who once ruled without fear, had been wounded. And the ones who wounded them were humans. That single victory changed everything. For humanity, it was proof they could fight. For the predators, it was the first sign of a nightmare. They had thought Earth would be a quick conquest, but now they saw a war rising before them. A war unlike any they had faced. And this time, they were not hunting prey. This time, the prey was hunting them. The predators returned to their empire in silence. The memory of Earth burned like poison in their pride. Never before had prey resisted them like this. Never before had one of their great fleets been forced to retreat. To them, it was shame. To humanity, it was fire. Across the Earth, people stood united as never before. Soldiers trained day and night. Engineers worked to understand the fragments of alien ships that had crashed. Scientists studied predator technology, unlocking secrets that could change the balance of war. The world no longer thought of itself as weak. They knew the predators would return, stronger and angrier, but humanity had tasted victory. And victory gave them courage. Soon, the war spread beyond Earth. The predators launched a massive assault, sending fleets across the solar system. They sought to crush humanity before it grew stronger. But the humans had prepared. On the Moon, hidden bases fired missiles into the stars. On Mars, outposts became fortresses. Even the void of space became a battlefield as human pilots fought in stolen predator ships. The predators expected easy kills, but they found ambushes and traps waiting. They tried to overwhelm Earth's defenses, but humanity refused to break. Every loss only made them fight harder. In the asteroid belt, a predator convoy was destroyed when human forces detonated mines hidden among the rocks. In orbit around Earth, alien warships were swarmed by jets and drones, forcing them into chaotic battles they could not control. The predators had power, but humans had something else: strategy. They studied their enemy, learned from every fight, and adapted faster than anyone thought possible. The predators grew frustrated. Their commanders screamed in rage. They had crushed entire empires, but these humans would not yield. For the first time, the predators realized they were fighting not just with weapons but with minds. And that was a battle they did not understand. On Earth, every victory came with a cost. Cities were scarred, lives were lost, and the planet groaned under the weight of war. Yet still, the people fought. Children grew up watching the skies filled with fire. Families hid in shelters, whispering of hope. Soldiers became legends, names spoken with pride. Humanity was bleeding, but humanity was unbroken. The predators escalated their war. They sent fleets larger than ever before. Entire armadas darkened the skies above Earth, determined to erase humanity once and for all. But by now, the humans were not the same as when the war began. They had learned too much, built too many defenses, and discovered too many weaknesses in the alien war machines. In one battle above the Atlantic Ocean, humanity pulled off a miracle. Using stolen predator codes, they hacked into the enemy's communication systems, turning their coordination into chaos. Alien ships fired on each other by mistake, giving humans the chance to strike. It was a victory that shook even the predator leadership. How could prey outthink hunters? How could weak creatures outfight masters of war? Fear spread like a disease through their empire. Whispers began in dark places, whispers that maybe the humans were not prey at all. Maybe they were something far worse. Meanwhile, humanity grew bolder. No longer were they only defending Earth. Now, they began striking back. Small human fleets, armed with stolen alien technology, launched attacks into predator territory. At first, they were small raids, quick ambushes that destroyed supply lines and outposts. But soon, they grew larger, targeting colonies and bases deep in the empire. For the first time in countless centuries, the predators felt hunted. Their commanders raged, demanding vengeance, but the truth was clear. Humanity was no longer just surviving. Humanity was fighting for the galaxy itself. And other races were watching. Species that had lived in fear for generations now looked to Earth with hope. They saw a people who refused to kneel. They saw a people who fought with fire and fury. And in their hearts, they began to dream of freedom. The predators felt the shift. They knew their reign of terror was being challenged. They swore they would crush humanity before rebellion spread across the stars. But every battle brought them closer to despair. Every clash revealed that humans were more dangerous than they had ever imagined. On Earth, leaders gathered and made a decision. They would not wait for the predators to strike again. They would carry the war into the stars. Humanity would fight not only for survival, but for victory. The galaxy had belonged to the predators for too long. Now, the balance was changing. The hunters had become the hunted. And for the first time in the history of the galaxy, the predators felt the one thing they had thought impossible. They felt fear. The predators searched for answers. They had ruled the galaxy for ages, yet now they faced defeats they could not explain. How could a young, fragile species resist them? How could humanity, a race barely able to travel their own system, fight an empire that had crushed countless worlds? Their leaders demanded answers. Their scientists studied human tactics. Their spies gathered fragments of information. And what they found began to disturb them. Humanity's history was filled with war. For thousands of years, humans had fought each other with a ferocity no other species could imagine. They had built weapons to level cities, machines to destroy armies, and strategies born from centuries of blood. Unlike other races, humans did not live in peace. Their greatest achievements often came from conflict. The predators had thought Earth was weak because it was divided, because nations argued and fought. But now they saw the truth. That division had forged humanity into something dangerous. They had practiced war on themselves for generations. They had survived plagues, disasters, and endless struggles. While other races grew soft under peace, humans became hard through suffering. They did not simply fight to win. They fought because survival was their nature. This was the secret the predators had uncovered. Humanity was not new to war. Humanity was born from it. When the predator commanders read these reports, even the proudest of them felt unease. They had thought they were fighting a young species. Instead, they were fighting ancient warriors disguised as prey. On Earth, this truth was becoming clear as well. Historians spoke of past battles and compared them to the current war. Generals studied the tactics of centuries-old conflicts and found them useful against the predators. Old strategies, combined with new technology, created weapons and plans that even the mighty empire could not predict. One human leader said, "We have always been at war. This is just another battlefield." The predators did not understand this mindset. To them, war was conquest, a tool to rule. To humanity, war was survival itself. The more the predators attacked, the stronger the humans became. The more they tried to break them, the more humanity adapted. In one battle above Asia, the predators launched a massive strike, confident they would finally destroy the human defenses. But the humans, using knowledge from old wars, drew them into a trap. They sacrificed territory, pulling the enemy deeper into their lines, only to strike from all sides with hidden forces. Predator ships burned in the skies as humans fought with a fury that shocked even themselves. The battle ended with another predator retreat. Across the galaxy, fear spread. Other species whispered in secret, daring to believe the impossible, that the predators could be defeated. On their homeworlds, they watched the humans with awe. For so long, they had believed resistance was hopeless. Now, they saw a race that had turned hopelessness into fire. Humanity's dark history of war had become their greatest weapon. The predators, blinded by arrogance, had awakened something they could not control. Inside their empire, cracks began to show. Soldiers questioned their leaders. Some whispered that humans were not prey but rivals. Others whispered something even darker, that humans were predators themselves, perhaps more dangerous than the rulers who had dominated the stars for ages. On Earth, humanity pressed forward. Engineers unlocked more secrets from captured ships. Weapons once used by the predators were turned against them. Fleets were built, stronger and smarter than before. Every human loss brought anger, and every anger brought innovation. Humanity's will seemed endless. The predators grew desperate. Their commanders sent larger armies, but each defeat chipped away at their fearsome reputation. They had ruled by terror, but now terror no longer worked. Humanity had seen their weakness. And once weakness is seen, it cannot be unseen. The predators swore to crush Earth before the galaxy rose against them. But the galaxy was already watching, already changing. Races that had once hidden in shadows began to whisper to each other. If humans could fight, maybe they could too. If the predators could bleed, maybe they could fall. The secret was out. The Empire's enemies had found hope in humanity's defiance. And humanity itself had embraced its past, no longer ashamed of its violent history. They understood now that their endless wars had prepared them for this moment. They were not weak. They were forged in fire. The predators had thought they were hunting prey. But what they had really found was a rival, a nightmare shaped by war and hardened by survival. And that nightmare was only beginning to awaken. The war had reached a new stage. Humanity was no longer fighting only for survival. Now, they were fighting for victory. The first stolen predator ships had been rebuilt, armed with human weapons, and launched into the stars under Earth's flag. For the first time in history, human fleets left their home system to strike back. The predators were not prepared for this. They had thought humanity would stay on Earth, hiding behind their skies, defending and resisting. They never imagined that humans would dare to attack. But humans had learned. They had studied predator tactics, copied their technology, and turned it against them. In secret bases hidden across the world, engineers had worked day and night to adapt alien engines, shields, and weapons. When the first human fleet left orbit, the world watched in silence. Those ships carried not only soldiers but the hope of an entire species. Their mission was simple yet impossible, to bring the war to the enemy. The predators laughed when they first heard of it. To them, it was madness. But soon, laughter turned to horror. In a distant colony on the edge of the Empire, predator forces awoke to alarms. Human ships had arrived, small in number but deadly in strategy. They struck fast, disabling communications, cutting supply lines, and vanishing into the dark. It was not a battle. It was a hunt. The predators realized too late that humanity had taken their own methods and used them against them. Panic spread through the colony as predator defenses fell one by one. For the first time in their history, the Empire lost a colony to prey. The galaxy trembled at the news. If humans could strike one colony, they could strike others. The Empire's enemies whispered with hope, and the predators whispered with fear. On Earth, victory brought courage. The fleets grew larger, stronger, and braver. Young pilots lined up to fight. Scientists pushed beyond limits to give humanity every possible advantage. The unity of Earth deepened. Nations no longer fought for themselves but for humanity as a whole. Every human loss fueled rage, and that rage forged weapons of vengeance. The predators responded with fury. They launched massive fleets to crush the human advance. They believed sheer numbers would overwhelm this defiant species. But humanity had no intention of meeting them in open battle. They fought with ambushes, traps, and cunning maneuvers. In one clash near Jupiter, a predator armada was lured into a minefield hidden in the shadows of the gas giant. Explosions tore through their ships while human fleets struck from behind. Entire squadrons of predators burned in the void. Another victory. Another humiliation. The predator empire began to fracture. Their leaders argued among themselves. Some demanded all resources be thrown against Earth, while others warned that spreading their fleets too thin would expose them to rebellion elsewhere. For the first time in ages, the predators were unsure. Humanity had forced doubt into their hearts. And doubt was more dangerous than any weapon. On Earth, a bold plan was born. Humanity would not only defend, not only raid, but strike at the predator core itself. They would attack a world deep in enemy territory, close to the predator homeworld. It was madness. It was impossible. But humans thrived in the impossible. The fleet was prepared in silence. Ships armed with alien and human weapons, crews ready to die for the cause, soldiers sworn to fight no matter the cost. When the fleet left, the world held its breath. They traveled through darkness, evading predator patrols, moving deeper into hostile space than any human had ever gone. At last, they arrived at their target, a heavily fortified stronghold that supplied much of the predator empire. To destroy it would cripple the predators. The battle was fierce, unlike anything humanity had faced before. Predator defenses were brutal, their fleets endless. But humanity fought with desperation and fury. Pilots rammed their ships into enemy cruisers. Soldiers boarded predator vessels, fighting hand-to-hand in the dark halls of steel. Explosions rocked the sky as fire and smoke consumed both fleets. For hours the battle raged. Many humans fell, but they refused to yield. And then, at last, the impossible happened. The predator stronghold burned. The supply world was lost. The predators had been dealt a blow so severe that even their leaders could not hide it. Across the galaxy, the news spread like fire. The predators had been defeated in their own territory. Humanity had done what no other species had ever dared. It was the turning point of the war. On Earth, cheers shook the cities as news arrived. Humanity had struck the heart of the Empire and survived. They knew the war was far from over. The predators would not forgive. They would bring everything they had, every fleet, every weapon, every ounce of rage. But humanity was ready. For the first time, they no longer saw themselves as prey. They saw themselves as predators. The galaxy, once ruled by fear, now whispered a new truth. The rulers of the stars were not invincible. And the humans were coming. The Predator Empire had never known fear, but now fear spread through their worlds like a shadow. Their fleets had been defeated, their colonies burned, and their pride shattered. And at the center of it all was Earth. The rulers of the galaxy had thought humans were weak, yet now it was humanity that pushed forward, striking deeper and deeper into enemy territory. The Predators gathered their greatest armada, a force so vast that entire star systems shook at its approach. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier was summoned. They would crush humanity in one final strike. The Empire's survival depended on it. On Earth, leaders knew the storm was coming. Scouts reported the scale of the enemy force. It was larger than anything humanity could imagine. Defeat seemed certain. But humanity had never been certain of victory. They had always fought against the impossible. And once again, they prepared to do the same. Factories roared with production. Shipyards worked without pause. Soldiers trained with grim determination. Civilians built shelters, ready to endure. The world braced itself, not with fear, but with fire. Humanity would not surrender. The final battle began in the cold dark of space. The Predator Armada descended upon the human fleet near the edge of the Empire, in a system chosen by humanity as their ground of defiance. The Predators expected an easy slaughter. Instead, they met a wall of resistance. Human ships swarmed the giants, striking with precision and fury. Predator vessels fired beams of destruction, tearing through human lines, but every time one ship fell, another charged forward. Humanity fought like a species with nothing to lose and everything to gain. Hours turned to days as the battle raged. Planets burned, debris scattered across the void, and the screams of war echoed through the stars. The Predators pushed harder, certain their numbers would finally overwhelm. But then came the moment they feared most. Humanity unleashed their greatest weapon, unity. Fleets from every nation, every culture, every corner of Earth fought together as one. Their strategies, born from centuries of conflict, worked in perfect harmony. Traps were set, ambushes launched, and the Predator armada began to falter. Ships once thought invincible burned in the darkness. The Predator commander, a warrior who had never known defeat, watched in disbelief as his fleets crumbled. His soldiers fought with desperation, but they faced an enemy that refused to die. Humanity's fire spread, consuming everything in its path. And then the humans did the unthinkable. They pushed through the armada and set course for the Predator homeworld itself. The galaxy held its breath. Never before had any race dared such madness. The Predators scrambled to protect their throne, but humanity was unstoppable. Every loss, every wound only drove them harder. They had endured centuries of their own wars. They had survived endless suffering. Now, they turned all of that against their enemy. The Predator homeworld shook as human fleets descended. The skies burned with fire, the ground trembled with fury. For the first time in history, the Predators knew what it was to be prey. Their cities, once filled with arrogance, echoed with fear. Their warriors, once unshaken, trembled at the sight of human banners. Humanity had become the nightmare they never expected. In the final clash, the Predator commander faced the truth. His empire was broken. His fleets were gone. His people, once proud, were now terrified. And standing against him was a species that refused to kneel, a species born from war, a species that had turned pain into strength. The commander fell, and with him, the empire collapsed. Across the galaxy, silence followed. Then whispers began. The rulers of the stars had been defeated. The Predators who once hunted without mercy had been hunted themselves. And the hunters were human. On Earth, there was no celebration, only solemn pride. The cost had been heavy. Countless lives were lost. But humanity had survived. They had done more than survive. They had changed the galaxy forever. No longer would one empire rule with fear. No longer would the stars belong only to the Predators. Humanity had proven that even the smallest world could rise against giants. They had proven that courage, unity, and defiance could shake the heavens. And so the legend was born. Across every world, in every whispered tale, the story spread. They ruled the galaxy without fear, until humanity became their worst nightmare.